Welcome. This is the Tandem Hope YouTube channel, and it's your host, Leisha Cole. So you're here because you want to start a podcast, and you want to learn how to record it in GarageBand. Well, that's what this video is going to be all about, recording quality audio in GarageBand. So what do you want to learn today? Well, I'll show you what I can teach you. In this video, you're going to learn how to set up and start the recording process in GarageBand, how to select and pair audio settings with your existing audio equipment, how to set up and organize your microphones in GarageBand, and how to quickly create an audio template for your next podcast recording in GarageBand. Once you do this once or twice, just keep it as a template, and boom, you'll be able to dish out those podcasts even faster. All right. So we're going to go over a couple things. Here's a quick step-by-step guide. Pause the video if you need to, look it over. Just some quick bullet points. So first is take inventory and determine your method. So you won't really know what the next step is for you to set up your audio equipment if you don't know what audio equipment you already have. So for many people, that might simply mean an Apple headphones with the built-in mic. But you know what? That'll work. I can teach you how to make that work. Maybe you have a USB microphone. Maybe you're using both combinations because you're the host and you want to have a guest, or you have a co-host, or things like that. I use an interface, Focusrite Scarlett, and a Shure SMB7 microphone. That's all pretty fancy stuff. I do music recording and other things, so that's powerful for my needs, but not really what you need to start a podcast. I'm going to do a future video about that budget-friendly shopping list for you guys and equipment. So once you figure out what you have or what you're willing to spend, you get the equipment, you'll be able to then start configuring your audio settings, which is step 2. So what we want to do is we're going to switch over to our view in GarageBand. Okay, you see 2 windows here. I'm going to switch between screens. When you start a new track, disregard a lot of the things that you see. Just click on the microphone in this audio section right here. It's going to ask what kind of input you want. I just selected input 1. And on this next screen, you're going to see other options as well. There are presets here in the left-hand column. Don't worry about those right now, but you may find as you're editing your vocals in post-production that you like those presets. You might use those, and I would suggest you use some of them, but we'll do that in another video. So there's an EQ. Let me expand this view right here. Don't worry about the equalizer and compressor and stuff over here on the right side. We're going to deal with that later. Let's look to the left. It says track, that's highlighted. Recording settings, make sure that that's in a good place. You can see on my screen that the volume on this mic isn't very high. So I'm going to increase that to plus or minus 0.2 decibels, just to give it a little something here. I'm also going to check the master settings over here. Sometimes I have to boost this a little bit. Input, I'm going to switch this to 1. Monitoring, this is just so I can hear myself as I'm speaking. That might be helpful for you. Noise gate, this is the default setting. You could go further to the left. If you go too far to the right, it's going to make your audio really choppy. So don't mess with that too much. Don't worry about plugins. We'll do that in another video. All right, so really, there you go. You have 1 microphone track kind of ready to go. You've configured that. So the next step is, again, to plug in your equipment, test it out, record a little bit, see where everything's kind of at. Okay. And so the next step, I would say, is to get organized. We have to configure the recording settings and those things. But first, this might be a bit mind-boggling to you. So the third step is to get organized. This may sound silly, but hit Control, right-click. This might help you stay organized. You can change the icon. You can change the name of the track. A lot of times I might put like the host mic, or I might put the input channel 1, or I might put the type of microphone I'm using, or the model. Okay. You could put a person's name there. It's helpful if you have more than one guest. So what happens when you want to add another microphone? You hit this little plus sign. We're going to need input 2. This built-in input is for people who want to just plug into the headphone jack or maybe a USB microphone. I would highly suggest a USB microphone for those of you just getting started. There's some good quality products out there. Output is just where the sound is coming out from, right? So in most cases, you'll just do the built-in inputs and outputs. So don't worry too much about that. So I'm going to add another track there. And okay, right? And you can reorganize it, rename it. Do this real quick. Check over some of these settings. Boom, boom, boom. You'll have to test with each microphone. Each person's voice is going to be a bit different. A man's voice might be really boomy. We'll edit that later. Another woman's voice might be a little higher or softer, or the other way around. Regardless of gender, just voices are different. So we'll edit that stuff later, but just make sure it's not peaking and getting into the red in this little toggle here or up in this master volume up here. You don't want to see much red there. All right, so we want to configure recording settings. So now you can see this little metronome. I'm going to click it in the top screen here. Deselect that. That doesn't need to be selected. That's more for a musician thing. If you want a 4 count in before you record, it's going to count, right? 4 times, right? That may be helpful. That kind of gives you the chance to get ready, get your game face on, kind of like a newscaster, point to your guest and be like, all right, we're live in 5, 4, 3, right? Also, remember, this is really built for musicians primarily. So this top center display screen, you don't need to know that this project is in the key of C major or the BPM is 120, time is 4/4. You don't need that switch down to time. That's all you need to see. As you move to the left here, all you need to know is the stop button, this play button, go back to the beginning. This is the record button, obviously. All right. You want to make sure that this playhead, right beneath the play button over here, right? Right above this track, you want to make sure that's selected, because as you move off screen, the view will just stay with you. So if I hit play, as you're going to start to see, that the screen will move with me. So another thing to remember is you can zoom in and zoom out. You can see the seconds displayed at the top. There is a little, you can see I'm kind of exaggerating it here. This will end the project, how it's much darker on the right side. That's where the end of the project is. So keep the playback, this header, track header kind of just highlighted and toggled here, so that your project continues to record as you keep talking. It moves with you. Next, you want to go to track up at the top, go all the way down to configure track header. And this is really important. You don't need track lock, but you can highlight that if you want. This is just more buttons over here on the left. You can see it's kind of expanding as my screen's moving. Do you see that? Okay. We want input monitoring and record enable. So now we have more of those options. Typically, when you hit record, it's only going to record the track that's highlighted. So be careful. So just likewise, I'm going to skip over here and highlight this second track. I highlight it. That's the one that's recorded. I've made a lot of mistakes by accidentally recording over something else. So my suggestion is to avoid that mistake. And in case you're recording 2 microphones at once, what you're going to want to do is, now that we've went to track and configured the track header right here, we want to select both of these, any of the tracks that you want to record simultaneously in unison. They're blinking red. That means those are the tracks that are getting recorded. So as you can see, I hit the record button, the timer's going, the playhead's moving here, and boom, you've got 2 audio tracks recording. Sound good? All right. So honestly, that's like a quick tutorial on most anything you really need to know to get started. Please feel free, if you have any questions, to leave it in a comment section, but you're basically ready to start recording your podcast. We can talk about exporting that as well real quick. You'd go to, make sure you share your project. Mine's untitled right now. I'm not going to save this, but you'd go to File, Save As, right? Name it, create a system, put them in a bunch of folders, stuff like that. A name that's recognizable for the file, but you're going to go to Share, and then export in any of these formats that you think would work best for you. I typically export my song to iTunes, and then I upload my podcasts into Spotify and onto my website in Squarespace and all of those things. So I've got my system down, but that might not be your preferred system. So don't be too overwhelmed. You can do this. If you're starting a podcast, it's because you have a message that you want to share, with the world. So I really just want to encourage you in that. You can do this, and it might seem overwhelming at first, but this is a quick step-by-step guide. In the next video, I'm going to talk about editing your audio. I'm also going to talk about a budget-friendly shopping list for equipment. And I'm also going to talk about how to improve your podcast, how to take it to the next level. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I really hoped you learned something and you feel like, hey, I'm capable. I can do this. I got this. All right, so thank you so much. Have a good one. Please remember to subscribe to the Tandem Hope YouTube channel.